Is that your band page or your personal page?
And personal, I mean.
Okay,
Okay, we're live.
cool. So I'm going to keep tabs also on people who are joining in. Okay. Cool. Welcome everybody for all of the early birds joining us for the West Coast Jazz Hour. My name is Kevin Van Elzen, drummer and band leader, and as always, of course, joining me is Josh Nelson, piano player, band leader, composer, and arranger. And today we have actually a very, very, very special guest with us. He is I would say, an American treasure. He's one of the greatest composers that we have in jazz music. He has written numerous works for Gerry Mulligan, for Stan Kenton, for Anita O'Day, for June Christy. The list goes on and on and on. So we're very, very honored that we have Mr. Bill Holman with us today. Willis, thank you so much for joining us today. Me and Josh are super, super excited to talk with somebody who has experienced the West Coast jazz heyday from the 50s and the 60s. And what I usually do in these, for everybody who's watching, we're having some technical difficulties, so Willis is on the phone with Josh, so he'll be able to hear whatever we have to say and what we're showing music-wise. Willis, my first question actually for you before we're going to start off with showing some music to our viewers and listeners. How did you exactly roll into the West Coast jazz scene? Because you're from here, you're born in Orange County, if I'm not mistaken, and a lot of people also, I think, forget about the fact that you started out as a woodwind player, mainly as a tenor player. So could you tell us like how you started in the West Coast jazz scene back in the day?
Well, I I started playing saxophone in high school. I had a band, and I was always interested in the arrangements we were playing, how they came about, and but I lived in a small town where there were no professional musicians, nobody to get any advice from, so nothing happened until after World War II, when I got out of the Navy.
Right.
And pardon?
I was confirming it. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
I was just confirming your answer.
I can't hear you.
Please continue.
Oh, it's okay. You can continue, Willis.
Yeah. After I got out of the Navy, I applied to a music school. I'd been going to some jam sessions down on Central Avenue, and I started to know people. And one of them recommended this Westlake College of Music. So I checked that out and enrolled there for a couple of years. And that was when I first started writing, because I just simply didn't know how before then. And I went there for a couple of years, and about the time I got out of there, Gerry Mulligan and his quartet appeared in LA, and that eventually morphed into the West Coast scene. It seemed to ignite a fire in so many players out here they're mainly studio players, but they got enthusiastic about jazz, and that's how it came about. It wasn't a formal group. It was just a name that most of the journalists put on us to denote the music we were playing. It was different from New York. It was a little lighter and more cerebral, maybe, but some good things came out of it. Anyway, that was my entry into West Coast jazz.
Right, great. That's so awesome to hear. Josh, I'll give it over to you.
It's just great to get to talk with you, Willis. I'm such a fan of you and your music, your playing, and I have to say my introduction to your writing was when I was 17. I was in an all-star youth all-star, I should say, one of those honor bands, you know, that California had. Those you could audition and be in an honor band. So I got in my first honor band, and one of the charts we played was your arrangement of "Stompin' at the Savoy," and to this day, I think about the lines on your chart, you know, and I'm singing them to myself all the time. It's almost like I can't separate the original song "Stompin' at the Savoy" from your arrangement, because you gave it.
An earworm.
What's that?
An earworm.
An earworm, exactly. And yes, exactly. And you captured me with that moment when I was 17. I'm in my early 40s now, and I've since, of course, continued to study your music and learn about your history. But that was a big moment for me. And of course, Contemporary Concepts is such a fantastic record. Any memories come to mind when you think about working with Stan Kenton?
Well, yeah,
A lot.
I've been there a couple of years, so there's a lot of that.
A lot. Maybe that's too broad of a question.
Where should we start?
Yeah, maybe I should have specified it a little bit more. Well, that record, maybe 1955's Contemporary Concepts. Anything stand out about that session? Some of my favorite moments are your intro on What's New is still one of my favorite moments in arranging.
Yeah, that was my favorite for a long time.
Was it?
Yeah. Now I'm kind of cooled off on it because it's a little too complicated. So, but it's part of the learning curve. After I left the band, the next year, Stan did one of those Birdland tours, all-star tours.
Wow.
And in the middle of that tour, he sent me to New York and wanted me to write a couple of charts that sounded like extended original pieces, you know, with use of motifs and reuse and some of the things that you don't always get into a jazz chart.
Right.
So I went to New York and I was there for about a month, and I wrote the one you mentioned.
What's New?
What's New,
Yeah.
What's New, and the other one, I can't think of the title, but I had a portable organ in the room, a pump organ, and that was my connection to music. And Basie was playing at Birdland at that time, so I wrote all day and went to her bass.
Oh, man.
I never told Stan. He would have probably had a fit.
Wow. That's amazing.
But the high point on Kenton's band for me was Zoot Sims joining the band.
Mm.
He's my favorite guy of all time.
Mm.
The way he played is one thing, but as a person, I came from a kind of a right-wing little town,
Right.
and people that looked like hillbillies or acted like farmers were not expected to be complete human beings, I guess. And a guy like Zoot with his down-home approach to everything, and yet a fine mind and fine judgment and taste.
Mm-hmm.
And he opened the door for me. So that was the big item on Kenton's band for me. Aside from the fact that I was able to get a reputation as a writer, and Stan was very unselfish that way. In fact, I'd written a couple of pieces for the band before I joined. Stan and I had a meeting, and he told me to write a couple of pieces. So I did, and I was trying too hard, and both of them weren't very good. So and I thought, well, that takes care of me and Stan Kenton. But at the same time, he was reorganizing a band, and one of the guys suggested he call me as a tenor player. So I went and rehearsed as a tenor player and got the gig. And but from the experience of the other charts that I tried to write, I didn't think that I could really write for the band, because he, his thing was progressive jazz and all of that, what that entailed.
Right.
And he made it very plain that he didn't want, as he called it, Tommy Dorsey music. Swing music.
Yeah.
So I just played the gig, for a few months, and every once in a while he'd say, "Holman, when are you going to write something?" And I said, "Oh, yeah, pretty soon." And, so about 6 months into it, I finally wrote a chart the way I thought that we could come to a meeting of the minds, and it was successful. He liked it, and so he had me write a bunch of more stuff. And after I left the band, of course, when I left the band, we had a little argument about whether the band swung or not, and things like that. And so I thought, well, that took me with Stan Kenton for good. And a couple of months later, he's on the phone. He asked me to write a couple of charts for Charlie Parker. He was going to be on the next tour.
Wow.
So I thought, well, I guess things are okay. And so we kind of got together again. I wrote occasionally for him after that, just maybe a couple of charts a year until he passed. But I owe him for letting me build a reputation.
Right. Beautiful. Kevin, do you have something?
Yeah. Willis, that's amazing to hear all of that. It's unbelievable. I am going to play some music actually for you. So Josh, if you can make me the host.
Yes.
Okay.
Because I'm going to play something that's actually from one of your records. Because I've had the pleasure of subbing in your band a number of times, and it's always an incredible pleasure to play with your band because in essence and in the way how I experience it is the way how Mel Lewis played on all of your recordings is basically the most perfect way how to approach your music. So I'm gonna play Far Down Below from the Jazz in Orbit record, and after that I'm gonna have a question for you about that.
Okay.
So I'm gonna share. And here we go.
Yeah. Yes. Oh, could you not hear it? Oh, okay. Did you hear it? That was, what is it? Far Down Below.
Far Down Below, yeah.
Yeah, we were playing Far Down Below from
Uh-huh.
Jazz in Orbit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. I think that was a good excerpt. Yeah. And then Kevin had a question for you about that.
Yeah, because I was wondering because I get the impression that Mel is basically your all-time favorite drummer. I'm very curious to know.
Kevin, I can't hear you.
I'll speak up a little louder. So I think that Mel is basically your all-time favorite drummer, and
Yes.
I'm very curious. Where did you guys meet?
I guess we met when he came on the band.
Of Stan Kenton?
Yeah. I wasn't playing with the band then, but I was writing. So I must have met him at one of the first rehearsals he played.
And in how far has his playing influenced your writing? Because sometimes, especially in that arrangement from Far Down Below, it really feels like you had his playing in mind when you were writing several of your pieces.
Well, I probably did. I mean, that's how we fit together so well. Is we both had the same general concept of the time and the sound of a piece. We talked about it often, but I never had to give him any suggestion.
Mm-hmm.
He was, we just seemed to fit together. We both had a very relaxed feeling. I never heard any stiff flag-weighted charts, and he didn't play any marches. But especially when I started going to Europe,
Mm-hmm.
working with the PDR band, we'd have 2 weeks. And the first week was recording, or the first week was rehearsing, second week was recording. But I would go over with an hour plus of new music, and it would be played for the first time at the rehearsal. And Mel, they talk about Buddy Rich playing a chart once and memorizing it. Mel could do the same thing almost. He knew when to change colors and when to relax and when to push it a little. And he was such a big help getting through those first days with new arrangements. That was a big plus.
Right.
You know, aside from his wonderful feel and a great personality. You had to understand him, but he had an East Coast personality, and he never did really fit in Los Angeles. So he got the message eventually and moved back to New York. That's where he did a lot of the great things, you know, with the Thad Jones Mel Lewis band and all the things that he was played on.
And do you remember when he was in the Kenton bands? Because I've heard stories that Stan wanted him to play louder, but Mel didn't want to play loud. So was there like friction in their relationship, or was there like still mutual respect? How was that relationship between him and Stan Kenton?
I think it was good. Of course, as I said, I wasn't on the band then, so I didn't get any of that day-to-day friction. But I know Stan knew he had a winner there, and he wasn't allowed to jeopardize that. There was one instance where, I don't know, I guess maybe they were recording a Johnny Richards chart, and there was something where Mel would blow it every time, and Stan would say, "No, Mel, you're wrong." And to make an impression, he asked the band, "Did you make a mistake there?" And the band said, "Yes." And Mel said, "No, I didn't." We're never able to crack that veneer. But
That's great.
if he was in your corner, he was wonderful.
Wow. That's amazing. Thank you.
Very good.
Josh.
I love this. We're really enjoying our time with you. Thank you so much. This is great. Going back, well, we're sticking around the Stan Kenton theme just a little bit. My musical example is just a little piece of one of my other idols on the arranging composition side of things, and someone that I understand that you spent some time studying with, Russell Garcia. Who I just love, and I've recorded actually 2 of his songs from films and his records on 2 of my albums. I always loved his sense of writing and his approach, and I just wanted to play one of the pieces for you if you can hear it through the phone. This is from a 1965 record you might be familiar with, Willis. It's called Stan Kenton Conducts the Los Angeles Neophonic Orchestra.
Yeah.
And it's got music from Hugo Montenegro, Johnny Williams, Alan Ferguson, Jimmy Knight, and Russ Garcia. And I thought we'd just listen to a little chunk of Russ's writing because it kind of harkens to some of your style, in my opinion, but I'm just curious what you think if you've heard this before. It's called Adventures in Emotion, and it features Bob Cooper on oboe. Yeah, so we're going to show that, and then we'll come and talk about maybe your experience with Russ a little bit. Okay, thank you. Okay, so that's a little bit of Russ Garcia there. Sorry you couldn't hear that so well, Willis.
Yeah,
Sorry about that. But yeah, so you, how was it? Any memories of Russ and his music and your time with him?
well, my time with him, he wrote an arranging book which was very successful. It's all over the world.
I love that book.
It's in many reprintings and
Professional Arranger, yes.
Yeah,
So good.
And in our lessons, we pretty much covered the stuff that's in that book. And in the same order. It was like he was teaching the book.
Wow.
Anyway, it was geared to produce a versatile arranger, who could write any style, mostly commercial music.
Yes.
Have a section on Latin music and a section on counterpoint. And, so we went through that whole thing.
Yeah.
And but one thing he stressed all
Yes.
the way through was form.
Form. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And at the time, I was feeling, that the jazz chart has its own form and don't worry about anything. And as the years went by, I started thinking more about form and thinking of motifs and reusing material.
Yeah.
And the general shape of the piece.
Mm-hmm.
And it's become probably my biggest concern these days.
Yes.
So I'm indebted to Russ for that.
Mm.
And what I realized later was that for a non-jazz player, he had a good feel for swing, and it was his own particular kind of swing.
Right.
But it was there,
Mm-hmm.
and I was very, very happy to realize that. Kind of made me a little closer to him.
Uh-huh.
But he was a wonderful guy, and I suppose you know about the ocean voyage that he and his wife took.
Yeah.
When he discovered New Zealand.
That's right. Yeah.
That was amazing too for a mild-mannered guy like him.
Right.
To be sailing through a storm.
Right.
With nobody but his wife.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
Fantastic story. Yeah. And I read his book, his short book, kind of, I forget the title, but kind of like stories I want to tell before I forget them, you know. And it talks about that journey he made to New Zealand and settling down there. What a fascinating individual. Of course, one of my favorite records of his, where you can really hear his style and swing, his style of swing come out, is Listen to the Music with Russ Garcia. And we've talked about that record so many times, or actually once before on this show, but I keep coming back to it because it's such a fantastic show of what he could do. And then on top of it, he got into film music, and he wrote one of my favorite scores to The Time Machine, 1960.
Yeah.
And you can hear it in other things that he did in the big band. And I just love his style. And thanks for sharing that about that with Russ. That's very cool.
Yeah, I really treasured that time and his lovely wife too.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Want to move on, Kevin?
Yeah. Willis, I would like to know you working together with Shorty Rogers, because I was looking at Shorty's discography, and at least in like 4 or 5 albums that he made, you're in the band. You're playing tenor in the band. So for our viewers and our listeners, I'm going to play a little excerpt of a track from Chances Are It Swings. And this is an original composition, not from Shorty, but I can't really remember who wrote it. But Josh, would you mind making me a host, actually?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm going to start share, and then afterwards we'll talk about Shorty. Willis, that's actually you and Richie Kamuka playing a solo on that tune. It's called Lilac Chiffron. Can you tell a little bit about your time in Shorty's band? Because I was checking out the lineup that Shorty has in his bands, and it's just all top-notch studio guys from back in the day. Al Persino and Carl Fontana and Frank Rosalino. So I would love to hear something about, like your time in his bands.
Okay. Well, he didn't really have a big band that worked. Those were all record dates, and occasionally he'd do a concert, but he didn't have an ongoing day-to-day band, so he was able to get a lot of busy players. But it was fun, yeah. People say that I was the first one to make the Kenton band swing. Actually, Shorty did. He wrote several pieces, but before Stan broke the band up, that were just out-and-out swing pieces. And I think he kind of sowed the seed for what we did later. But he was a wonderful guy. Everybody loved him, and I played in his 5-piece band for a time. When he started it, he had Jimmy Dufree playing mostly clarinet. And then when Hughes moved away, he hired me to play tenor. And we did a tour where I met Walter Norris, who's a wonderful pianist.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, I just had a long, fun relationship with Shorty. He wasn't, his writing was not very complicated. He kind of settled on a few phrases that he used in different ways. But he never wrote punctuation marks over the notes. People write a line for a long note and a dot for a short note. Shorty never did any of that. And on one of his record dates, we had to call a halt for about an hour for Al Persino to dictate all the what's the word I'm trying to think of?
Articulations?
Articulations. Yeah. And after that, Shorty never did it still. That was the style.
Yeah.
But it was fun.
Did you write for Shorty too, or did he do all of the writing himself?
He did it all himself, I think.
Okay. Great. Thank you for sharing. Josh?
Very nice. Yeah, Willis. Beautiful. So my second exposure as a musician to your arrangements was when I joined Natalie Cole's band in 2008. And I played with her basically up until when she passed away in 2015. And you had so many great arrangements you wrote for her. And I played, of course, many of the ones from Unforgettable, that famous record of her from 1991. And again, more earworms for me in your writing, that I can't separate your arrangements now from the original you know, from the original versions of those tunes. I mean, Almost Like Being in Love, Thou Swell, This Can't Be Love. To me, they're Holman through and through first. And I just memorized the lines. You know, we would have big band dates on the road with Natalie, and then some dates, of course, we didn't have a big band, so I got to play all your lines, you know, doubled with the guitar. So it was just a joy to get to play those lines. And I was just curious. There was one arrangement you wrote for two singers, and the same arrangement, or excuse me, the same song. And the song in question is Avalon, and one was for Anita O'Day in 1964, and one was for Natalie in 1991. And if you can hear it, I'm just going to play you the shout chorus from each one, and I'd like to just talk to you a little bit about that after our audience hears that. Is that okay? Okay. Thank you. 1 second. Share screen. Share computer sound. Okay, here's Anita O'Day, 1964, Avalon, the shout chorus written by Bill Holman.
So I think I'll travel along on to the new Avalon.
There's that one, swinging. And then we fast forward to 1991, Natalie Cole's version of Avalon, and a shout chorus on that tune, also written by Bill Holman.
Dawn, and so I think I'll travel on to Avalon.
Okay, could you hear either of those?
No.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, that's the one thing that's not quite translating to the phone through the phone here is the music, unfortunately. But rest assured, it was brilliant. What you wrote was brilliant.
They weren't.
No. Was that what you were worried about? Well, no. I noticed in the difference between Anita's and Natalie's. Well, Natalie's, you have this great kind of halftime line you write in the trumpets, right in the middle, which I thought was a defining difference between the Anita O'Day version and Natalie's version, almost as if you were not necessarily maybe trying to be different between them, but maybe you had changed in that almost 40-year time difference. There was a different approach to rhythm that you were taking with a similar tune. How would you say that your writing changed as an arranger, especially for vocalists, from maybe the 60s to the 90s? Did you think there was any perceptible change, or how you adapted new techniques or something to that effect? Or maybe there was no change.
I think I became a little less afraid of getting in the singer's way.
Right.
Interfering with what they're... The first vocal charts I wrote were for Peggy Lee.
Right.
And I was just frozen with fear. But it worked out well because she liked simplicity, In fact, she told me that she loved me for what I did not write.
Oh, really?
So that was a good way to break into it. But then I found out, that the singers are human beings, and they can hear lines and they can react to them and
Right.
kind of build their phrasing around them. And, except for Tony Bennett, he wouldn't move his phrasing an inch. And there was one shot that was really a good shot, but it crowded him a little bit, and he didn't use it. So.
Oh, I see.
But singers and musicians too, so I kind of included them in the whole scheme of things.
Right.
So.
Yeah, I guess that's what I kind of noticed about the difference between those versions, that you seemed a little bit more fearless with the writing in Natalie's version of Avalon. Like, I really heard, going for some different stuff, as they would say.
A lot of it depended on what singer it was also.
Yeah.
And with Natalie, I really felt, she was part of a band.
Yes.
And so I was really not afraid to do a lot of things with her.
Yeah.
She even recorded live.
Right.
Remember, she went in the booth and recorded those tunes.
Yeah.
And most singers were overdubbing at the time.
Right.
The band would go in and try to get some enthusiasm going and make the tracks, and the singer would come in later and overdub. But Natalie was always in the booth.
Was that the case with Anita Willis, that she would overdub, or was she singing live at the band?
No. Let's see. No, at that time she was live. That was what I'm looking at was 1960. Is when I did an album with her.
Yeah.
I don't remember if I guess Avalon wasn't on that. He just said 64.
Right.
But I don't remember that at all. But I remember when they did the one in 1960, she did everyone was live. In fact, Ross Garcia was the producer on that date. And
oh, wow.
Being a very mild-mannered guy, Anita was able to talk him into letting her hear every take that we made.
Oh, wow.
If we knew there were some things that were wrong, she had to hear it.
Right.
So over time, I got yelled at by Norman Graham's office manager, but we got it done.
That was the same record, Willis. That was Incomparable. Avalon is on Incomparable.
Yeah, that was 1960.
I'm sorry, I had a wrong date there. I stand corrected. At Radio Recorders, Hollywood.
Yeah.
Wow, and what a band, too. You had Jack Nimitz, Joe Mondragon, Lou Levy, Bill Perkins, Richie Kamuka, Al Porcino. My goodness, Frank Rosalino. Incredible.
Yeah.
Wow. Mel Lewis, of course.
Mm-hmm.
All stars indeed. That's a great record.
Yeah, absolutely incredible.
Yeah. Thank you for that.
Willis, I'm curious, are there any composers that you're checking out right now? What kind of music you're checking out right now? Are you listening back to stuff that you did, or are you listening to young and up-and-coming composers and band leaders? What do you listen to?
Well, I have not been listening to new people lately. The last year or so, year and a half, I've had so many health problems that I haven't been thinking a lot about music. I'm sorry to say.
No.
I haven't written much. And of course, in the last few months, my lady love died
Yeah.
February.
Yes.
So I've been dealing with that.
Yeah. Our condolences to you.
Yeah, thank you.
Mm.
It's just kind of kept me from writing.
Mm-hmm.
I heard somehow on the internet, I got to hear news like Joe Lovano with a small big band sounded like maybe an octet. A wonderful thing. That was the first new music I had heard in a long time.
Uh-huh.
And I may be on the road back.
Right. I'm very happy to hear that.
But I've mostly been happy with listening to the Miles Band with Coltrane and Sonny Rollins and Wayne Shorter
Oh yeah.
and Brookmeyer.
Oh yes.
I can't think of all of my boys. I've been kind of drilling in the past.
Hey Willis, have you heard that Bob Brookmeyer record, Bob Brookmeyer and Friends, with Herbie Hancock and
Elvin.
Stan Getz, Elvin Jones, Ron Carter.
No.
1964, I think. I'll have to get you a copy. I think you'll love it. Hearing Stan Getz and that kind of, the Herbie later Miles band with Brookmeyer. So cool. And they're all great arrangements, of course. And they do Some Time Ago, and they play Skylark, and I think you'd really enjoy it. I love Brookmeyer, of course. Yeah.
Hey, Josh, I think we have time left for like one more question to Willis before he needs to go. And we actually have a nice question from somebody online. Taylor Hatch has asked a question. So Willis, we actually have a question from somebody who's watching the live stream right now. And his question is there a production that you have done that you're the most proud of?
What the question again?
Is there a production that you've been a part of that you hold as the most that you're most proud of?
No, nothing I can think of now.
Get back to us later.
The fact that I was able to do them all.
Yeah, sure. Right. A little shout out to Taylor. Taylor actually sent me some scans of Russ Garcia's book, and we were showing examples of Russ Garcia's book. Thanks, Taylor. Is there any other questions from our audience?
Taylor asked another one actually on the topic of Stan Kenton. What attracted you towards learning from a sound that he had? What was the biggest takeaway that you got from him? So maybe that one. What is the biggest takeaway that you got from Stan Kenton?
The biggest what?
Biggest takeaway. What was the biggest thing you kind of learned or gleaned off Stan Kenton?
That's a tough one.
It's okay if you don't have an answer. You've given us a lot already.
Yeah.
I'll probably think of the answer tonight.
Right.
And then you can let us know.
Yeah.
You can let us know afterwards.
Please. Yeah.
Well, I think Willis has to go because we made the appointment that we're going to take it for an hour, and we're
1
at
hour.
our hour. Yeah.
Yes.
So, Willis, me and Josh would like to thank you so much to talk with us and to share your stories with us. It's been incredible to hear your experiences with all of these incredible musicians who we, adore, and you're one of those guys, basically. So thank you so much. And I actually hope to see you again very, very soon, that I can see you with the band, or that I come play with the band again. So thank you really, really a lot.
You're welcome. You're always welcome to play with the band, too.
That's very kind of you. Thank you.
It's been a pleasure talking with you guys. It's great to be interviewed by musicians rather than journalists. The journalists, you get some funny questions sometimes. I enjoyed talking to you guys.
Oh, thank you very much. And thanks for all the earworms over the years.
You're welcome. My pleasure.
Oh, just great. And you're a national treasure in our opinion, and we love you very much. So thank you again so much.
Thank you.
Okay. Take care.
All right, you too.
Okay.
Bye, Willis.
Bye-bye.
And there we have it.
There we have it. All right. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us. This was, I don't know, Josh, this was incredibly special.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
This is I mean, we've had some fantastic interviews with John Clayton and Anthony Wilson. Those were fantastic. But something else about a man who lived in that era, and the way he actually defined some of the difference between the New York sound and the West Coast jazz sound.
Yeah.
In very kind of specific terms was nice to hear, just a little bit more definition on what that means, because John brought that up as a key point. Yeah, and
the way how he was talking also about the writers who have a certain kind of swing.
Right.
So like Russ Garcia has his own type of swing. Stan Kenton has his own type of swing. That he credits Shorty Rogers for making the Kenton band swing, because he got the credit for that, but he thinks that Shorty was the one. So these are all like insights that you don't get to hear on a day-to-day basis anymore.
No, from someone who worked with so many people, and he talks about it so effortlessly, and his memory is pretty great.
Incredible.
I was looking up, it looks like that incomparable Anita O'Day record, at least on Discogs, says it came out in '64, but he was right. They recorded in '60.
In the '60s. So,
yeah, he remembers that. I just love it. Music keeps you young, and Willis is a shining example.
Right. Jeff Hamilton responded to when you played the example of Natalie's version of Avalon,
which I think he was playing on.
Yeah, and he said he had to slow Natalie's down for the drummer. So that makes a whole lot of sense right now that you say that. Thanks, Jeff, for joining, by the way.
Yeah,
Thank
Jeff.
you.
Oh, man. So great. Another legend joining us. Beautiful.
Yeah. So that's it for today, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for bearing with us, because Willis had a couple of technical issues. Otherwise, he would have joined us on Zoom. But luckily, we were able to do it on the phone. So, Josh, thank you for all of your great questions and your curiosity. And we'll keep on going with this, hopefully next week with a new guest.
Thank you, Kevin. Great questions and examples yourself. Thank you. Great.
All right. Well, we'll see each other soon again.
Okay.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Thanks for joining. I stopped the live stream, but we're still recording.
Yeah.
Cool. That was super fun.
Man,
that worked.
So
I'm so glad you
special.
thought of that. I mean, I eventually probably would have come to it, but I'm glad you were just like, hey, he can still talk. He just yes. And that you could hear him okay, which was I was nervous about that.
I heard everything picture perfect.
Thank goodness for good technology. New iPhone, new computer helped that, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'll put the recording in Dropbox.
Yeah, great.
That was super fun.
So for the YouTube thing, I think then that you have to like maybe cut the ending and the beginning off, so that for the YouTube when we want to upload it, that you.
Oh yeah. Do I can do it. Do you use iMovie or anything?
I did.
No?
I did. Well, I have
I'll
like
do
an
it.
old Windows,
No,
but
no, it's fine. I can do
Okay.
it. Thanks for reminding me. Are there others I need to do that with?
no, because the others are already posted, so
Oh,
that's
okay.
fine.
So this one, I'll just make sure I'll do that before I upload it to you.
Yeah.
And
I was going to ask you, do you have any ideas for people you want to try to get in touch with for next week?
let me think about it. We had talked about, no, I mean, off the top of my head, we had talked about Kim
Mm-hmm.
Richmond. He would be great.
Yeah, I was
Um,
thinking of Kim too.
yeah. Sip. I mean, I don't know if he does this kind of stuff, but
I don't
maybe,
know either.
yeah, maybe Sip would be.
I was actually thinking. I don't know if you ever encountered him, but maybe Terry Gibbs.
Oh, Terry would be great. I know Terry. I mean, I could see about if you do it.
Yeah, I have never met him, but I would have a ton of questions about the Dream Band recordings.
Well, maybe there's our next one. Let me see if I could somehow reach him.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think I have his number, but I can get it from Gerry, his son.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, if that's who you want to do, maybe just think on it for a night or so. Let's touch base tomorrow. Maybe send me a text if that's who you want. I mean, that's a great idea. He's also in the same age group, right? Early 90s?
Yeah.
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 He's
I know
really
it.
fit still.
And I know he has Facebook because I just saw.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I just saw that he responded to a post that Sal Lozano made on the